So why don't we start this video with giving me an applause for finally reading a book that I'm planning and saying that I'm going to read soon for years now. So cheers to me. Namaste guys and welcome back to my channel. I'm Divya and I make videos book related. So the Netflix show of Shadow and Bone is around the corner. It's going to be released in April, and finally I read this book, that is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and I have a very mixed feeling about this book. So I'm actually buddy reading this book, but some of my other bookworm friends from Bookstagram and Booktube, that are Lipakshi, Vig, Jazan Books, Vaibhavi and Shaina from Sashi Shaina. I'll put the link in the description box to their Bookstagram or channel, so you can check them out if you want that. I was first going to vlog this whole to have a memory of what I felt while reading this book, but not everything was good and many don't even watch my vlog, so I decided that I should do a book review of this instead, a proper book review, that what I usually do, and asked on Instagram if you wanted a series book review or individual book reviews, and you all opted for an individual book review. So here we are with the review of the first book in the Grisha trilogy. So the first book in this Grisha trilogy, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, is about a summoner, saint and a soldier. Let me give you a brief about this book through its map. So Ravka is a kingdom in which the Grishas live, and it is divided into two armies. There are first and a second army. First armies are the general soldiers and the second army are the Grishas army. And the Grishas are like the magicians that do magic and have different abilities according to the kefta they wears. So yeah, and there is this unsea between the Ravka and the true sea, and there is also this two cities or kingdoms in between the unsea and the true sea, that is Novoribisk or Oskarvo. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right of these kingdoms. So yeah, so there is this thing that this unsea was not there before. It was created by a darkling, the ancient darkling, to just out of his greed and everything to divide the kingdom and just to rule the world on his own. But the thing is that there been a mistake while he did what he did to create this unsea, is that he accidentally made Volcra, the sea creatures that you see in this way, which devours the humans or anyone who crosses this unsea to reach the other kingdom, that is Novoribisk or Oskarvo. So for now they need a sun summoner to destroy this unsea and now again unite this whole kingdom again. So this is what this whole book is mainly about. Now I have decided to divide this whole review in two parts with the spoiler and non-spoiler reviews. So right now I'm going to talk about the non-spoiler reviews and give you like a timestamp and another like a thing on this video to let you know that I'm going to jump on the spoilers review. So right now I'm going to talk about the non-spoiler review. Now this book was not exactly what I thought it would be, and it was an average read for me, not the bested and the overhyped that it is. I might have liked this book if this book was actually again not very overhyped. Because of the hype only and because of the Netflix show that is going to come, I bought the whole set and it was expensive. Now there are also many things that I actually loved about this book. That is, I love the world building of this book. I love the Ravka kingdom and the Russian elements that are used in this book. Now I have seen many reviews talking about how Russian culture has not been properly implemented in this book, but I'm not Russian, so I'm at nowhere to talk about this, so I'm just going to talk about it in a general way. So I really enjoyed the world of Grishas and how it was explained, and the magic system in this, I really loved that, how it was divided. But it's also the thing that sometimes I was actually really confused at who is who, so I had to actually write down all the names of all the Grishas with their powers and everything. So the writing is simple, which I really don't mind, because for me I really thought that it gave a really good flow to the book and moved it with flow effortlessly. The pace of this book is really fast paced, and at some point in the starting I was actually loving that, as how the prologue started. It was quite mysterious, gripping, with every dark elements and Grishas coming and everything. I was quite enjoying that thing. But after it's coming in the middle half, it started to get really fast paced for my liking, and yeah, that actually also one of the things that made me not like this book that much. that I wanted to. So now, if you are here for the non-spoiler review, it's over here now. I'm going to talk about spoilery thing now. So let's head on to the spoilers. So in the prologue, that is before chapter, we were introduced to the kid Mal and Alina, and I loved every bit of this chapter. That intense movement when the Grisha examiners came to examine them to see if they have any Grisha powers or not. They used to live in this orphanage where from this duke who had this orphanage free on the wheel, for the kids who have been like orphaned in the wars and everything, so they used to live in that orphanage only. So it was really that gripping thing in that first chapter, in the first few pages, that I really loved, and I just hoped that it would have stayed that way till the very end. And after that, we read them being adults, Alina being a map maker and Mal being a best tracker they could have in the first army. Now things were going smoothly, but then suddenly in the second or third chapter, we are in Shadowfall and Alina suddenly discovers her powers, and yeah, everything was too sudden for me. Her character was quite relatable, but at the same time, she was not. She was so dependent on Mal and everyone else around her that she doesn't have any say of her own. The most absurd scene that I read in this whole book was the kissing scene between Alina and Darkling. It came as sudden as it went. I mean, like, in first few pages, I was not even reading Darkling. He has gone there to do whatever he wants, and suddenly he came. Alina started asking questions, and he just went there and kissed her. And she just reciprocated that kiss, and I was too shocked as to what was happening and why there is sudden kissing between them. It was so out of flow and so, I don't know what I should even call that, just too sudden and too out of the place. The whole plot was nothing other than good versus evil, which is actually again the base of every other book, but given the hype, I was expecting something more plot wise, character wise, yeah, just something more. There were so many things that I could have predicted while reading, and so little things that I couldn't. Now let's talk about our three main characters in this book, that are Alina, Mal and Darkling. So first I'm going to talk about Alina's character, which was nothing but a self-pity, judgy and indecisive character. It was like she has no brain of her own. She would do anything that would just others tell her to do. Her decisions cost so many lives all the time. And the way in the very first time she called the light at the Bhagra's hut, and also at the time when Darkling found the stack and bounded her with him, and then at the ship in the very ending, then when she summoned the light at the end on her own after being bounded by Darkling with the stacks by mercy. I don't know why. There was no logical reasoning behind her call to her own powers, because every time she was saying like, oh, this was within me only. The first half it is said that because of Mal, she didn't wanted to separate from Mal, that's why she didn't call the light her power, her son summoner power, when the Grisha examiners came. And suddenly she remembers then in Bhagra's hut, and that's it, she calls the light. It was like, what's happening? That's it. That's the only thing that she needed to call the light, and it took her whole half of the book to know that. And at the very end, she actually showed mercy to the stag. That's why she thought that I have mercy. I showed mercy to the stag. That means stag is also bounded with me. It was bounded with me before it was bounded with Darkling. So because of that, I can summon it again. And just that mercy that she showed to stag and the mercy that she showed to other after killing everyone on the ship are two different things. So there was no logical reasoning whenever she called her light her own power. The thoughts that came to her mind to call them were just stupid. Now, as for the Mal, how should I explain the Mal's character? He is one of those guys with handsome features, possessive nature, best tracking ability, and the guy with I am always right and you don't get to say anything guy. That's all I can say about him. Now let's game the Darkling's character. You might have already started like assumed by seeing my face and the way I am talking that I love Darkling's character. I really don't know, but I loved his character. A part of it might goes to Ban Barnes, my Prince Caspian. I was literally imagining every scene, like when I first started reading Darkling's character in the book, when it was first into the second chapter or first chapter, I guess, I was totally imagining him and it was a pure bliss. I was really happy in my own world imagining him as Darkling in that black kafta. It was just awesome. I know he is the villain and I don't agree with all the decisions that he made in this whole book, but his character is so mysterious, so dark, and so damn good written that I loved every bit of his character. I think this whole book was more of story driven than character driven. The character's development you can't see. You can't see any character development in here, as there was no character development. Every character was in their own world, or I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, there was no character development in this book for me. And as for the romance, the ships we have, Darkling Alina, Mal Alina, I really don't like both of them. At first, I was actually shipping Mal and Alina because childhood French lovers is my thing. I love that. Anime true lover is also a good option, but with the things that Darkling did at the end and just that, I actually opted him out of this. But both the relationship for me in this book were really toxic, so I really don't know how this is going to be turned out in the second book, but I hope to see better than what it's shown in this book, because the romance in here is so not needed. I really don't think the romance in here was needed, with you knowing that how I didn't like that kiss scene with Darkling and Alina. It was so sudden and everything, and so with the Mal and Alina's kiss scene, suddenly he sees her, and that's again too sudden. So these are all the thoughts of mine about this book, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, first book in the Grisha trilogy series, and I hoped I laid down every thought, every view that I had for this book in front of you. And I still don't know if I actually loved this book or I did not, but I'm sure that I liked this book. It was a decent book, but I really don't get the hype, the overly overhype this book has. And I'm hoping that it did justice with the hype with the coming books. I'm planning to read them too, as show is coming and I need to finish them. So do let me know in the comment section if you have loved this book. If you do not love this book, what are your thoughts about this book, or if you agree with all the things or even some things that I talk about this book or the characters in this book. So goodbye to the next video.